There was once a lawyer, to disconcert Jesus, stood up and said, Master, what must I do to inherit eternal life? And he said to him, well, what's written in the law? What do you read there? He replied, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and your neighbour as yourself. Jesus said, you've answered right, and life will be yours. But the man was anxious to justify himself and said to Jesus, but who is my neighbour? And Jesus replied, a man was on his way from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell into the hands of brigands. And then they ran off, leaving him for dead. Now, a priest on his way to Jerusalem happened to be passing by the same road. But when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. In the same way, a Levite who came to the place saw him, and he too passed on the other side. But then shortly afterwards, a Samaritan traveller came upon him, and he was moved with compassion when he saw him. He went up and he bandaged his wounds. And he poured oil and ointment on them. He then lifted him up onto his own mount. And carried him to the inn. And the next day he took out 2 denarius. And he handed them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said. And on my way back, I will give you any extra you have. Now, which of these three, come here ye three. Priest and Levite and Samaritan, come here. Now, I want to ask you guys, which of these three, was it the priest?
No.
Was it the Levite?
Yes.
No. Was it the Samaritan?
Yes.
3 cheers for the good Samaritan.
Yes.
And Jesus said, go now and do the same yourself. The gospel of the Lord. Okay. There was a man named Lazarus who lived in the village of Bethany with 2 sisters, Martha and Mary, and he was very ill. The sisters sent this message to Jesus, Lord, the man you love is ill. And on receiving this message, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death, but in God's glory, and through it the Son of God will be glorified. Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, yet when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed where he was for 2 more days, before saying to the disciples, let us go to Judea. Jesus replied, because they said, Rabbi, it's not long since the Jews wanted to stone you. You're not going back there again. And Jesus replied, a man can walk in the daytime without stumbling because he has the light of this world to guide him. But if he walks at night, he stumbles. Because there is no light to guide him. He said that and then added, our friend Lazarus is resting. I'm going to wake him. Trevor, shut up. Can we wait a minute? Let's stop.
That was the call at 25, yeah.
Our friend Lazarus is resting. I'm going to wake him. The disciples said, Lord, if he's able to rest, he's sure to get better. Jesus put it plainly, look, Lazarus is dead. For your sake, I'm glad I was not there, because now you will believe. And then Thomas said, Lord, let us go too and die with him. On arriving, Jesus found that Lazarus had been in the tomb for 4 days already. Now Bethany is only about 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to sympathize with them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus had come, she went to meet him, and Mary remained sitting in the house. And Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, whatever you ask of God, he will grant you. And Jesus said, Martha, your brother is going to rise again. And Martha said, I know he will rise again, but that will be at the resurrection on the last day. And Jesus said, I am the resurrection. If anyone believes in me, even though he dies, he will live. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she said, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one who was to come into the world. When she had said this, she went and called his sister Mary, saying in a low voice, the Master is here, and he wants to see you. And hearing this, Mary got up quickly and went to him. When the Jews who were in the house sympathizing with Mary saw her coming, they followed, thinking she was going to the tomb to weep there. And Mary went to Jesus and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. At the sight of her tears and those of the Jews who followed her, Jesus said in great distress, with a sigh that came straight from the heart, where have you put him? And they said, Lord, come and see. And Jesus wept. And the Jews said, see how much he loved him. But there were some who remarked, he opened the eyes of the blind man, surely could have prevented this man's death. Still sighing, Jesus reached the tomb. It was a cave with a stone to close the opening. And Jesus said, take the stone away. And Martha said, Lord, he'll smell. This is the fourth day. And Jesus replied, look, have I not told you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So they took away the stone. Then Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you for hearing my prayer. You always hear me, but I speak for the sake of those who stand around me, so that they may believe it was you who sent me. When he said this, he cried in a loud voice, Lazarus, here, come out! Lazarus, here, come out! Lazarus, here, come out! And the dead man came out.
Come out. Come out. Would you face the cameras?
With his hands unbound and bands of stuff, and Jesus said to them, unbind him and let him go free. Who is it? Now do you see why we wanted you to come up to it?
I was never going to come over, that guy was roaring.
Lazarus, what was it like to be dead? We're from Israeli television, we've heard that you're raised.
That wasn't too bad, but I got wrecked and they were suffocating.
Death is welcome release.
That's right.
Have you anything to say to the folks now that you come back to life?
Well, I have.
What's that, Tom?
I'm going to be in grave difficulty tonight.
Grave difficulty.
I've told this woman about
Grave difficulty.
50 lies already. And she's not happy, and she won't be happy.
But now she'll get up every morning. You'll rise every morning.
No comment.
Thank you. We have a bucket. See, you have no bucket. She said to you, how are you going to get the water?
It's down there. It's going a long way.
You hear it? But you hear it, Mary.
No, is it?
Yeah, don't
Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going.
Mighty woman.
Might go down, is it?
Keep going,
We
keep
grab
going.
if you go down.
Because pretty much most of that rope will go down. Yeah,
It's very deep spring.
it's deep.
Yeah.
So keep going,
Now guys, continue the bucket.
Yeah.
keep going, keep going,
Go and kick the bucket out of
Keep
Mary.
going.
You know.
keep going. Keep going.
Let's touch the water, yeah? Yeah. You just feel something there when you touch the water. Yeah.
And you're hitting
Yes.
the bedrock.
Yes, down there.
Is it down the gully?
Yeah, it seems to be, yeah, it's water, I can see that.
Right, we let it down the full way. Now,
It's down, it's doing it, it's all done.
now, what
Go and bring it
goes up?
up now.
What goes up has to come down.
Oh, now let's see what we're made of. It's good exercise.
Come and see you. No. Whoa. Whoa. We'll have to go again. No. You want a drink?
Is it?
No. Pass it around. Take it off. Yeah.
Sorry, innit?
על פי אדוני ועד משה, על פי אדוני ועד משה, תורת אמת נתן לנו, תורת אמת נתן לנו, תורת אמת נתן לנו, ברוך השם בחר בנו. מזל טוב. Now.